YouTube, yesterday was another massive NBA news day as far as free agency and trades, contract extensions, right? And it's been a little while since we made one of these videos, right? Like going over all the moves that have happened over the past few days. And believe me, folks, there has been a ton of it in this video. I'm going to be talking about all of the news that has been taking place across the NBA offseason, including a certain shooting guard from a certain team in a certain city that is definitely Chicago, you know, moving to Sacramento. And we're going to talk about all that stuff in this video. It's Demar Derozan. And in this news video, I do want to format it a little bit differently than previous ones if you guys have been following the channel. And basically we're just going to be, you know, scrolling on my browser on my computer through all the news instead of me putting up all the tweets and stuff like that. So lock in, folks. We got plenty of news to go over. Let's get right into the video, folks. All right, so, you know, as I mentioned, we're going to be, you know, scrolling through this ESPN.com page right here, and it's basically, you know, NBA free agency 2024 latest signings, news, buzz, and reports. I apologize for the ads you're going to see on screen. I am not partnered with Dodge Ram trucks. I don't support nor condone Dodge Ram, but listen, at time of recording this video, it is July 7th, 2024. So depending on when you see this, there could be more stuff coming out, but we're going to start with July 6th, right? This is all the big news, you know, happening on July 6th. And basically how it's going to work is I'm going to break down and read all the stuff on the screen and then add my thoughts and opinions on the certain thing, whatever it is. This one is, you know, Sacramento Kings have agreed to a sign and trade that will land Demar Derozan on a 3-year, $74 million contract, sources told ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. The deal will also send Harrison Barnes to San Antonio and Chris Duarte 2 second-round picks and cash to the Chicago Bulls. Now, this is a 3-team deal, right? And I actually think this is one of the few 3-team deals that you're going to see where every team made out very well with this deal, right? This is a W for all sides, so round of applause for everybody. I think the haul for each team is fair and valid for what they're trying to do moving forward with their franchise. But, you know, first we have to talk about Demar Derozan, right? He is the centerpiece of this, obviously, and Sacramento lands the, you know, star mid-range magician, right? I think, you know, people are going to question the fit with Sacramento, and I kind of did at first as well, right? I'm like, you know, I know Sacramento needs a little bit of extra star power, but is Demar Derozan really the right guy for that job, considering his, you know, very particular skill set? Might not be the best fit for, you know, Sacramento's offensive system, right? They run a fast-paced, split-action, Golden State Warriors-esque offense, and, you know, I don't envision how that could be super great for Demar Derozan until I really thought about it, right? I envision with the Kings a lot of, you know, movement and perimeter spacing, and as I mentioned, split actions, a lot of pin-down screens, guards running all over the place trying to get open, just a ton of fast-paced ball movement style offense. And I'm thinking, like, when Demar was with the Chicago Bulls, they had, like, the slowest pace in the league. You think about Demar Derozan as a methodical, you know, mid-range scorer that can get to the rim, get to the line, right, in a slow type of offense. Doesn't necessarily have to be the case, right? And with Sacramento in particular, just considering that they needed more star power by itself, I think this move makes perfect sense, and it even elevates them, in my opinion, to a playoff spot, more likely than not in 2025. I think this move, you know, again, pushes them over that tier of teams that they're in, like the play-in tournament teams that we talked about in yesterday's video in the Western Conference. And they have De'Aaron Fox, they have Malik Monk, they have Domantas Sabonis, they have some pretty solid depth pieces around those guys. But listen, out of those few guys, you know, De'Aaron Fox is really the only star level scorer you have. So the move makes a ton of sense there for me. And the more I thought about the fit, I thought, you know, imagine like these split action, you know, sets. I'm thinking like just because Demar isn't like a 3-point sniper doesn't mean he can't play a little bit off the ball in Sacramento, right? You just have to be a little bit more creative if you're Mike Brown. So it also isn't always as black and white as like De'Aaron Fox is going to be on the ball or Demar Derozan is going to be on the ball. It can be possession by possession, and it certainly can be multiple things in a possession, right? So you could see a lot of, you know, on-ball scoring from both of those guys at the same time on the floor. You know, it could just be a situation where, you know, Demar's a little tired, Fox, it's your turn, or Fox is a little tired, Demar, you know, vice versa. So I think a fun play to see, you know, because I'm thinking like, what kind of fast-paced offense could you put Demar Derozan in off the ball, right? Because, you know, assuming De'Aaron Fox is going to get most of the on-ball responsibilities, and then I thought like, how fun would it be to see like a split action where like a classic Warriors play, right? De'Aaron Fox brings up the ball on the left wing, crosses half court on the left side, like I said. Domantas Sabonis runs down to the corner where Demar Derozan is standing. His defender's playing a little off of him because Demar's not a great shooter from the three-point line, at least. Domantas Sabonis sets a pin down screen and then immediately rolls to the basket. Demar breaks off the pin down screen because the defender sagged off him too much, and Domantas Sabonis, an elite screen setter. Demar not only, it's like a 90s play, right? Demar doesn't run out like past the right wing wing to like do a catch and shoot 3-pointer. You know, Demar takes it at like the top of the key or the elbow, like inside around that free throw line area, and just, you know, does like a spot up mid-range or like a, you know, movement mid-range catch and shoot. That would be so cool to see plays like that, and I'm sure we will with Demar's elite offensive ability. But I'm just, you know, not only that, you know, Demar might not fit in with certain play styles, certain systems, certain paces, right? But this is a guy that can also play make. I mean, you have a lot of catch and shoot guys on the Kings. Think about Keon Ellis, who is a great 3-and-D player. You think about Keegan Murray, who's one of the best shooting forwards in the entire NBA. He will certainly bring out a lot of defenders to the 3-point line, particularly the bigger ones, so DeMar can go to work, right? And De'Aaron Fox, another guy that has really improved his 3-point shooting. So I just don't see this as much as an issue as I think I originally did. And we think about, you know, getting to the line, right? You got De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, and DeMar DeRozan. These guys are going to live at the line all season next year. So, you know, this just adds a layer of dynamic offense to the Sacramento Kings organization. And overall, I think it's a W move. Now, Harrison Barnes involved in the deal. Sacramento sending him to San Antonio, right? And I think that's an awesome move for both teams, because for Sacramento, you know, you're basically upgrading on Harrison Barnes. And then if you're San Antonio, you're getting a guy that can step in and start right away. That again can add a level of on-ball scoring ability and, you know, out perimeter shooting. You know, the Spurs have really needed shooters to surround guys like Victor Wembanyama with. And I think Harrison Barnes is a great fit in San Antonio, just with the ability to step in right away and start and, you know, add a lot of spacing to Wembanyama's game and Stephon Castle's game. Chris Paul is going to be a great option at the point guard to be able to set those guys up. I just love what the Spurs are doing, man. And they're kind of in this weird space where I'm like, are they going to really try to go and contend next year? Are they going to tank one more season? I don't know, man. You signed a couple veterans and now trade for one. I just think I think this could be a situation where the Spurs are looking to make a, you know, lower end playoff spot next season, and I think they can for sure. And adding Harrison Barnes only solidifies my position on that a little bit more. Now, as far as Chicago Bulls, you know, you might look at this haul and say, well, you know, they got the worst player in the trade. You know, Chris Duarte is still an NBA caliber guard that can, you know, get some offense, and you only end up getting 2 second-round picks in cash. You might say that's not a great haul for an all-star level talent, but actually it really is if you consider the context of this situation. I mean, for one, the Chicago Bulls, you know, were never going to re-sign DeMar DeRozan. He wanted to leave in free agency, and he just needed them to facilitate a trade for him. And if, from their perspective, you know, if they're thinking he's not coming back, you know, we don't have any interest in signing him, why not do a sign and trade to where we can get things back for him that are valuable to us long term, right? I think this is a great move for Chicago, and, you know, this really fits what they're trying to do. Like I said, you end up getting 2 second-round picks, Chris Duarte and cash, out of a player that you weren't even going to have on your roster next season. So that's an obvious W, right? All in all, again, I think this is a great move for the Kings, great move for the Spurs, great move for the Bulls. I'd have to give the Kings the definite W out of this trade for all 3 teams, but I think all teams won in this trade. But, you know, I'm excited to see DeRozan on the Kings. They're gonna be a fun team to watch next year. Such an exciting and big move in this offseason. I know I spent a ton of time on that trade, but that is the biggest news of the last few days. So we're gonna move on. You know, with 7:18 p.m. Eastern time on July 6th, Dario Saric has, you know, left the Warriors and signed a 2-year, $10.6 million deal, including a player option with the Denver Nuggets. Now, Dario Saric actually had a pretty solid year with the Warriors, and I like this move for Denver because they've really needed a backup big man, right? And I don't know that Saric is necessarily a guy that you want to put in at the 5 position, you know, for 20 minutes a game, but he could be a solid backup replacement for Aaron Gordon or Nikola Jokic, like I said, in any given situation. He provides a lot of similar things offensively to what, you know, you'd want from a backup to replace Jokic on the floor, and that is high basketball IQ, right? Passing ability as a big man, finishing in the paint, good hands, and just feel for the game in general. You know, I don't think Saric is a great defender at this point in his career, but I just think overall, you know, this is the right type of backup 5 for the Nuggets, you know, in their system. Like, they want a guy to come in and not just have their, you know, value when Jokic is off the floor plummet, because you lose that passing ability from the offensive spot. You know, you lose that passing out of the post. Saric is a gifted offensive player, and I think it makes a lot of sense for the Nuggets, and I like the deal that you got him on as well. I talked about this in probably the last free agent news video that I made, but Pistons forward Simone Fontecchio needed to re-sign in Detroit. This guy has really big time upside as a shooter. Excuse me, on the screen, I don't know if you saw that. I accidentally right-clicked, folks. What a disaster. Simone Fontecchio, as I was alluding to, has a, you know, big time upside and ceiling as a shooter. From a young forward, he has great size and, you know, really consistent shooting from the 3-point line, right? This is a obvious W because they actually get him on, he was restricted, so, you know, he kind of wasn't really going anywhere in my opinion, but had agreed to a 2-year, $16 million contract to return to Detroit. Absolute dub for the Pistons. You know, you bring in Tobias Harris to do kind of similar things as Fontecchio, but you acquire Fontecchio Fontecchio in a trade with the Utah Jazz last season. Could end up being one of your best shooters on the team moving forward. And I just love the deal. I know I believe he's coming off an injury with his foot or something like that. But again, Fontecchio makes a ton of sense for the Pistons to re-sign. And I think they needed to do it because this guy could end up being one of the best forward shooters in the entire league in a few years. Now, probably the second biggest news that have happened, a lot of people, including myself, were wondering what the future of Miles Bridges would look like in this NBA. Obviously had some off the court issues, which would affect his, free agency situation last year. Ended up signing a 1-year deal with Charlotte, ended up missing an entire season at one point. And so, going into this free agency, this is a really talented young player that any other situation would be getting close to a max contract, I would imagine. There were rumors about the Clippers, right? He was really happy about, the situation where the Clippers were basically giving out second chances to players that needed them, young players that, wanted to do the right thing moving forward with their career. And, I thought he personally was going to sign a, smaller deal with the Clippers. He ends up re-signing with the Charlotte Hornets, a 3-year, $75 million deal with Charlotte. And I actually really like this move for Charlotte. I mean, to get Miles Bridges back on this value is incredible because, as I mentioned, there's a reason he is so sought after, even with all his off the court stuff. This is a player that can give you 20 points a game. He's a real legitimate athlete at that power forward position. He's got amazing size, and he's just a great pairing with LaMelo Ball. In that, I believe it was 2020 season, they had, LaMelo Ball was an all-star, and Miles Bridges, they went all the way to the play-in tournament. We haven't seen them have a ton of success since then, with their injury issues and, all that stuff going on. So, but the Hornets are a franchise, I think, on the rise, no doubt about it. I mean, in a few years, this team's going to be scary, and, securing Miles Bridges for a 3-year deal makes a ton of sense. Keeping that core of LaMelo, Brandon Ingram, and Miles Bridges together. I wasn't expecting Charlotte to re-sign Bridges, I'll be honest, but I do like the move a ton. San Antonio Spurs trading Devontae Graham and a second-round pick to his former team, the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets will waive Graham, allowing him to become a free agent. So, this is a salary dump by the Spurs. I think it's a pretty good move, and the Hornets have made it clear they're just taking on everybody's bad contracts, which is something you definitely want to do as a rebuilding team. They end up getting a second-round pick out of just taking that contract. So, really big W for them, I would say. I have to see if Devontae Graham ends up on a roster by the time 2025 rolls around. I'm going to talk about this extensively in my next video, so I'll just keep it brief for this one. But, free agent forward Caleb Martin of the Miami Heat has agreed to a 4-year deal with my Philadelphia 76ers worth $32 million. In short, I love the move. I think it makes perfect sense, and I'm so glad we could steal him away from Miami. If you're a Miami fan, I apologize, but that's just business. You know what I mean? The Sixers have had easily the best offseason, and as I mentioned, I'm going to be covering it in the next video that I make, probably tomorrow. But I'm telling you guys, something's happening in Philly, man, and I'm excited for it. I don't know if it's my Sixers bias, seeping through into the content, but listen, you guys are probably sick of me talking about the Sixers, but listen, man, I just can't help be excited about Caleb Martin. He's a big time playoff performer, will fit in seamlessly, got him for good value. He definitely needs to possibly reconsider his agent situation because apparently he got almost double that amount of money offered from the Miami Heat, turned it down, was told to turn it down, I believe, by his agents, and ends up getting a much smaller deal with the 76ers. But hey, man, I'll take it, and I'm glad it worked out the way it did because now you're going to get a championship ring, Caleb Martin. You're going to contribute. I'm kidding, obviously, but that is my goal. That is my hope, right? The Sixers, in doing so, basically had to waive backup 5-man Paul Reed, who had a non-guaranteed contract for next season. And Sixers fans and, my fan base has absolutely enjoyed Paul Reed to the maximum, watching him every night. Drafted him in the second round from DePaul, and, his nickname B-Ball Paul, right? Like, he was such a hard worker, kind of represented the city well, and just a fun guy to watch. Really, it's going to be sad to see him go. I love B-Ball Paul, but it'll be interesting. I think Paul Reed could end up being a really solid backup 5 for a team that needs one, and I think a lot of teams need one, right? Paul Reed's a good athlete. He even expanded his offensive game to a 3-pointer last season. He made those pretty consistently, so he can shoot a little bit. He has a slow release, but it is possible when teams leave him open, he can make those mid-rangers and corner threes, top of the key, right? So Paul Reed's a young guy who works hard. He wants to grow. He's a really good athlete, as I mentioned, and capable of big defensive playmaking, blocks, steals, passing lanes, all that good stuff. He's just all over the floor. He's got a knack for the ball, finds the ball quite a bit, and always on the ground for those 50-50s, right? So Paul Reed, I think, a guy who will definitely be on a team in 2025. Someone that needs a spot center or a backup, 5, I think would love Paul Reed on their team on a cheaper deal than he was on with the Sixers. I think teams like the Lakers and the Warriors could be involved for Paul Reed. No question about it. He fits those teams well. And then, the last two things I'll mention are Malik Beasley signing a 1-year, I believe it's $6 million deal with the Detroit Pistons. Pistons, not sure about that move, why they did that. The Pistons are just like signing everybody. I don't know. Like I get that they have cap to spend, and this is a good value signing. You know, $6 million for one of the league's best catch and shoot guys from the guard position is incredible, but I would like to see Malik Beasley on a team that can win, right? And I get that the Pistons, again, they have to spend a certain amount of cap money, but I don't know, man. They're just signing players that are, you know, late 20s, early 30s. Like, it just doesn't fit their timeline a lot. I don't know if they're trying to compete this season. I know they're trying to win more than, you know, 14 games, so that makes sense, but it could just be that they're surrounding their young core with, you know, developed and, you know, win now pieces to see how they fit with the young core, and I guess in hopes that they can develop their young core a little bit more and also see like what their weaknesses are, right? Like, if you start putting win now pieces around the young core, my idea is that you're gonna run into what problems the young core has, right? So then you can really make decisions on, like, is Cade, you know, good enough to be the guy of the future? Do we really believe in him with good pieces around him? Is Jalen Duren our future center, you know, moving forward? Is Jaden Ivey a guy that can, you know, play at this level with a team like this? So I think that's could be what they're trying to do. I articulated that very poorly, but hopefully you guys get what I'm trying to say. I guess my thought is, if you put a bunch of, you know, really solid pieces around a young core that you're not so certain about, like, let's say they have doubts about Jalen Duren as their future center. If you put him in a situation where, you know, you're expecting him to do winning center type of things, and then he doesn't fit that, you know, ability and skill set wise, then I think you have your answer on whether or not he's the center of your future. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Hopefully you guys got that. But yeah, Orlando Magic, Franz Wagner has agreed to a 5-year, $224 million maximum rookie scale contract. And if Wagner makes an all-NBA team, the deal could be worth as much as $269 million. Love what Orlando's doing. They're just building around this core, man. They spent all this time rebuilding and they got their guys. Paolo Banchero, you know, will be soon to follow with this extension, but, you know, Franz Wagner locking him down. Obviously one of the best young forwards in the league. The ceiling is so high for the Magic and the future is so bright. And I just love, you know, how they're really staying committed to this core, and it's working so incredibly well for them. I love what they're doing in Orlando. But yeah, that's pretty much it, you know, for all the big news. I think Alec Burks signed a 1-year deal with the Heat. He's the only guy I think they actually got, and, you know, only addition I guess you could say they made. Makes a lot of sense for them. He seems like a hard worker. You know, spent a brief stint with my Sixers, and I liked his game quite a bit. He's a good shooter, can handle the ball a little bit. I think it makes sense for the Heat, who lost DeLon Wright and now Caleb Martin. So you're gonna need someone to, you know, step up and fill those positions. Joe Ingles, 1-year deal with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Kind of whatever, you know, I think he's your Kyle Anderson replacement for sure. Kyle Anderson, you know, went to the Warriors, 3-year, $27 million deal. Makes a lot of sense. Seems like a guy that basically, you know, when Draymond Green steps off the court, you put Kyle Anderson on the court, and, you know, you have similar value and similar skill set there. So it makes a lot of sense. It's like a revolving door of a forward who can, you know, do all the little things, right? So I you know, and play make as well. So I like that move a lot. People have been saying, you know, trolling the Warriors, like, oh, you know, he can't shoot, right? Well, like, no duh, that's not what he's there for. They're not expecting him to shoot, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to me why people would think that. Magic and Jonathan Isaac have agreed to a 5-year, $84 million contract. Not sure if I love that for the Magic. I mean, in my opinion, you know, they made a bad contract with Jonathan Isaac the last time, and it kind of ended up not working out that well. This is a big contract, you know. I like Jonathan Isaac, obviously one of the most gifted defensive players we have in this league, but he's injury prone and also, you know, has struggled to, you know, provide any type of offense a lot of times in this league. So kind of an interesting situation there. I mean, if you're going to play him at the backup 5, I think that could make sense, but, you know, I think he is more of a modern 5 than anything else, but he's a little light for that. And in my opinion, defensively, his best value is on the wing. So kind of interesting there. You know, I think that's a little bit of an overpay. I'm not sure you had to sign him to that much money or that many years, but, you know, what do I know? But that's gonna have to do it. You know, obviously the trade for DeMar DeRozan is the big news here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. You know, I'll change my face cam back in a second. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Man, I'm sweating so much. It is literally 100 degrees in my room. Like, I can't even have the air conditioner on, just so you guys know why I'm sweating all the time in my videos, because it's Pennsylvania in the middle of the summer around the Philly area, and it's basically like 1,000 degrees in my room, and I can't put the air conditioner on, which is right back there, because you guys will hear it throughout the video and it's annoying. So, you know, you're gonna have to watch me sweat, and that's kind of a weird thing to have said right there, but hopefully guys I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm struggling. Let's just end the video, right? Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys did enjoy it. You know, we upload content just like this every single day on the channel. All things NBA every day from the Dehave channel. I will catch you guys in the next one. Hopefully, you know, your favorite team is involved in one of these trades and, you know, moves and stuff like that. If your, you know, favorite team hasn't made moves, they're likely the Miami Heat or the Los Angeles Lakers, and maybe we'll be talking about them in a future video. I don't know. Maybe. Just guessing. I don't make the rules here, folks. I just make NBA content every day, and, you know, that's what you're going to get if you subscribe to the channel. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day today. Big NBA news, folks. I'm going to keep it coming as long as it keeps coming to me, right? Catch you guys in the next one. This is your boy Dehave, and as always, peace.